Complex numbers are numbers that have an I in them. I always equals the square root of -1. Remember how we talked about that I said to write complex number on ones that where you got a square root underneath the negative sign? Or I got a negative sign, I forgot that said that backwards. A negative sign underneath the square root. Okay? This is what's called an imaginary number. So what we do, so we can still deal with that, what we do is, for example, square root of a -10. What we say that is we split this up into the square root of -1 times the square root of 10. These two are equivalent. Everybody see that? Now, so what I do is instead of writing square root of -1, what do I write? So the square root of -10 is the same thing as saying I square roots of 10. Now I only have a positive underneath the square root sign, don't I? But you have to have the I in front of it because it represents what? Square root of -1. How would you write negative or square root of -36 in complex form? There's a complex number. What do you think you're going to do? Anybody have an idea? What I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the negative with the number here by separating what? Square root of what? -1 from it. So this would be square root of -1 times the square root of what? Does everyone agree? All I do each time is just make the -1 into a what? The square root of -1, I make it into a I. So this becomes what? I times. Now, why didn't I simplify here? Do I know what number I could square and get 10 as an answer? No, I don't. But do I know what number I can square and get 36 as an answer here? What is the square root of 36? So your answer here is 6i. Make sure you get that written down. So the square root of -36 is the same thing as what? 6i. Anytime from this point forward you see I, you know, as a variable like that, you assume that that represents what? The square root of -1. Okay? When it's all said and done, that's pretty easy, isn't it? Let's make that complex. Square root of -31. How am I going to get rid of the negative first? Anybody? What do I do? Square root of what? Times square root of 31. What do I make that into? What square root of -1 always equal to? So instead of writing that, I write what? So this is I square root of 31 because the square root of 31 doesn't reduce anymore, does it? How easy is that? Just each time you get rid of the negative by putting a what? I. Square root of negative 144. What do I make the basically, think of it like this. Each time this negative right here, what does it become? What did this negative become? What did this negative basically become? See? What did this negative become? So to get rid of the negative, what do you make it into? An I, stick it in front of what? The number without the negative, right? See how we went from here to here? I got rid of the step of writing square root of negative 1, didn't I? I know that negative is going to become what? I outside of the square root. Now ask yourself, is that a perfect square? Put it into your calculator. Square root of 144, is that a perfect square? What is it? So the answer is 12i. What number squared is 144? 12. See how easy that is? That's super easy. Huh? Now, the other thing we're going to talk about is in the quadratic formula. Quadratic formula is x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all of that over 2a. In this formula, what part deals with the square root? Square root of b squared minus 4ac, right? It turns out this thing's called the discriminant. I think I spelled that right. The discriminant is square root of b squared minus 4ac. Or actually, the discriminant is just b squared minus 4ac. So let's not do that. Take that back. This part right here determines whether your answer is real or whether it's complex. That's what that determines. If it's real, what do you think? Is what? Positive, right? B squared minus 4ac is positive if it's real. If it's complex, what do you think? B squared minus 4ac is what? Negative. Because what do you get underneath the square root sign then? A negative, making it, you have to use I then, don't you? So if the discriminant is positive, it's real. If it's negative, then it's a complex answer. So guess what we're going to do today? We're going to solve some of those from using the quadratic formula. Everybody got that down? Can I unfreeze it? We're going to solve this using the quadratic formula. First of all, what's my a equal to? Remember, it's ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Is everything equal to 0? What's my a? There's a 1 in front of that. What's my b? What's my c? Okay, so I'm going to put it into what? negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, all of that over 2a. So it'd be negative b is negative 4, plus or minus the square root of.
I never really got a chance to be in your class, but apparently they enrolled me in here, or put me in here after holidays, but I'm a disenrollment today, so they told me to get you to just sign this. Thank you.
Okay. And then b squared, which would be negative 4 squared, minus 4 times what's a? 1, what's c? 7. All of that over 2 times what's a? 1. So x is equal to, what happens here? Everybody stop writing and just watch. Tell me what I get. I'll let you write it down after I'm done. I get a positive 4 here, plus or minus the square root of. What's negative 4 squared? Positive what? Minus, well, first let's figure out what we're going to get here. It's 4 times 1 times 7, and it's a negative. So what's my answer going to be, negative or positive? Negative 28. All of that over 2, right? So now I'm left with x is equal to 4 plus or minus the square root of, uh-oh, what happens here? Negative what? 12. All of that over 2. At this point, when you did these, I told you to say the answer is what? Complex. I don't want you to do that anymore. Now I want you to change that into a complex number. 4 plus or minus, what does the negative become? I square roots of what? 12 over what? 2, right? Is that a perfect square? No. We're not going to worry about simplifying square roots right now, so there's your answer. Not so bad, is it? For those people, like I said, they're just in my class, understand something. 11 through 15 are problems just like that. If you don't show every single step I just did, you won't get credit for it. Does everybody understand that? The WP means write the problem. DF means draw the figures. SASAW means show all steps and work. Prove to me you know what you're doing. In numbers 1 through 6, I want to see you work out what b squared minus 4ac is every time. You only hit, like I said, a lot of people don't understand, oh, you only have 15 problems in here. Everyone always says, hey, coach, give us less problem swing, make sure we know what we're doing, we'll show our work, you know. Okay, deal. But do the work. Don't just write the problem and then an answer underneath it. That's not going to work for me. You say, well, I can do it in my head or I can do it in the calculator. Fine. I'm asking for probably an extra 5 to 10 seconds on each problem, some of these really easy ones. All you got to do is write it down. At most, I'm asking for an extra 20 seconds. Let's even go with half a minute. I'm asking for 7.5 more minutes, if that's on every problem. That's not too much to ask. If I was giving you 100 problems, that's tough, isn't it? But I'm giving you how many? 15 in this case, and we have some that are less, don't we? Okay? After we get done with this chapter, what we're going to do to add on to this is we're going to learn how to simplify square roots. Okay?